Hilton brings you new ways to stay. With experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, and Brewers Outlet. Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
And the opening half hour brought to you by our good friends at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummels Wharf. Online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, best in new inventory, great pre-owned inventory with the Sunbury Motors guarantee. Terrific service department, whether it's quick lane inspections, routine, difficult, they handle it all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummels Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. And as always, a pleasure and a privilege to talk with John Perrotto. John, welcome back. It's great to have you with us.
Good to be with you, Steve. Thanks.
Well,
thanks for having me.
Is there any franchise that has more bizarre off-the-field happenings than the Pirates, between covering up 21s, getting rid of bricks, the trash?
Some of the guys that cover the team and writers, and it was, we said that, it seems like it's like it could already be September. There's so much going on in the season, so many off-the-field controversies. You feel like it's enough to fill a whole season instead of 1 month.
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre. I mean, let me ask you this. I always refer to this, John, as management by walking around. And if you can walk around whatever business it happens to be, you can get a feel for what the culture is, what people think. So they cover up the 21, which I know they had, it actually had not been up there longer than people realize. And then the part with the bricks. What are they missing in terms of, like, the mindset of the Pirate fan that just by walking around they could have figured out?
Well, there's a real disconnect, Steve. I mean, you have an owner who's, I don't want to say reclusive, but he lacks social skills. I mean, I'm going to be just totally blunt about it. The guy that doesn't have interpersonal skills. He's very awkward socially, and he's not the type of guy who's going to go out and glad hand people and shake hands and everything. And he has a club president, Travis Williams, who is the same way. So they don't have that public relations sense of, hey, let's go out and meet with the fans, or let's just show our face, like in the concourse or something now and again, and make people feel like, we're there for you. We're there to hear what you have to say. And then, like I said, it's a real disconnect, and their public relations is awful. They have no sense of what people here think like, and I know I've had arguments with, I would say discussions, but they've actually turned into arguments with some of the public relations executives of the Pirates who think that I'm too hard on the organization. And I tell them over and over, I said, you don't know your audience. You don't. I said, right. That's why I write. A lot of what I write is because I said, you've taken no time or taken any initiative to really get to know what your fans are like, for what they think, for what they want. And I know, and I'm talking about beyond, say, they want a team that wins the World Series. I mean, every fan base wants that.
Right.
But I mean, just how they think, how they are, what they expect from people, and the Pirates just have no sense of that at all. And the thing is, I mean, this ownership group's been in place, Bob Nutting, for 17 years now. This isn't like, well, we're still kind of feeling our way along here. Give us, be patient with us. This has been sad.
Yeah, I'll start with the Clemente thing. This has nothing to do at all with Surfside. I mean, they're the ones that bought the spot, but it has nothing to do with them. What I mean by walking around the ballpark, if you just walk around the ballpark, John, how many 21 jerseys do you see from fans, by the way, that never saw him play?
Yeah. Oh, I know. You see kids. You see, like, 10-year-old kids wearing a Clemente jersey, and Roberto's been gone 52 years.
Yeah.
He died on, the New Year's Eve of 72. And even, like, you see Stargell jerseys. And Willie has been gone. He passed away in 2000. His last year was 83 as a player. So, I mean, here's guys that other than Skeens and maybe Cruz, but other than Paul Skeens jerseys, and this is an unscientific poll, but I would say you see as many Clemente jerseys as Skeens jerseys, and you see more Stargell jerseys than any other active player besides Skeens. Right. And that's and you're talking about two guys that didn't even play in this millennium.
Right. And that's my point about management by walking around. If you walk around the ballpark, I mean, you don't have to make yourself known. Just walk around. And you'll see, hey, hold on. We got to make sure that we keep that spot the way it is because it's sensitive. I mean, that's just by walking around, you would have known that, right? The bricks part, I know this is the third time they've replaced them, John. I understand that.
Yeah.
But there was now, I think in the end they bounced back on it. But, like, offer the brick to the people, we're going to replace them, and then offer it to the people that bought them. I mean, it's a great public relations thing for a group that needs public relations.
Exactly. I was in Cleveland a week ago yesterday for some stories for some of the other outlets I work for, and I was talking to the head of their public relations department. And he said, we went through the same thing here at Progressive Field. Of course, it was Jacobs Field when it opened back in the mid-'90s.
Yep.
He said, we had to dig the bricks out. It just, over time and the elements and everything, they started to crack. He said, but we offered the bricks back to the people. He said, and about 90% of the people wanted them back, and they were happy that we offered it.
Yes.
And that's where the Pirates, and I mean, this one's personal to me, Steve. My mother, who's also now gone, my father passed in 91, and he was a big baseball fan, and the Pirates were his favorite team, and we bought a brick to commemorate him when PNC Park opened. And then I'm watching the news and I'm seeing that the bricks are in a landfill somewhere, and it's like, you got to be kidding me! Like, there's so much sentimental value, and I'm not just saying for me, but you take me and multiply it by 30 or 40 or 50, and I mean, it's just like, it was sobering, and I mean that's. The other stuff they do, it's just business to me. They don't want to spend money. Yeah. That's their business. I don't like it. But that become personal, and that really, that hurt. And I know a lot of other fans who were in contact with me who said the same thing. It's like, this really, really hurt.
Yeah, no question. So, John, now, the fan that fell out of the stands, I understand he's doing better. I mean, how horrific was that when it happened?
Well, it was really, scary at the time. I don't think a whole lot of people in the ballpark actually saw him fall, except people sitting out, in the right field stands, because McCutchen had hit a double, and it was kind of an odd play where Dansby Swanson, the shortstop, dove to stop it, and it hit off his leg and it ricocheted into right center field. Yep. So, and there were a couple runners on base that scored at the same time, and I think everybody was watching the play, so not too many people actually saw the poor kid fall out of the stands. But then it was, as soon as the play was over, I know somebody in the press box went, "Oh my God, look, there's a fan on the field, like laying face down on the field on the warning track." And so at first, like, nobody kind of understood what happened for a minute before it sunk in that a fan had toppled over the railing there and onto the stand, onto the field. And it was very, very sobering. And to be quite honest with you, I mean, he was motionless. He wasn't moving. And my initial reaction was the worst, to be honest. I didn't think he was going to make it.
All right, so now the play on the field. This has been another one of those Pirate years, which is the same as all of them. I mean, they're 12-23. I mean, they're playing just barely above 333 at this moment. And this includes having Paul Skeens on the roster. What's their level of play right now, in your opinion?
Well, it's not only that they're losing Steve, and obviously they're not very good to have that record. It's how they're playing. Yeah. I mean, it's the fundamental mistakes, the base running mistakes. They made two egregious base running mistakes yesterday. They had a guy picked off second and a guy easily thrown out at home trying to score on a ground ball to the third baseman. And just, you know, they allowed a double steal yesterday, and the pitcher never even looked the runners back, and the runners just took off. And it's just bad fundamental baseball. It's one thing if you just don't have as much talent as the other team, and the other team just beat you because they had better players. And I think that's obviously part of the Pirates' problem too. But they don't help themselves by just playing really, really bad fundamental baseball. Like they had a pass ball yesterday on a pitch right down the middle of the plate. It wasn't a hard pitch to have to try to block or catch, and you know, the pass ball on that, and then an error on a routine ground ball to shortstop, and it just I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And I guess the frustrating part is, you know, we as reporters, we ask Derek Shelton, we ask the players, you know, why does this continue to happen? It's get frustrating, and Shelton goes, well, our guys are trying too hard. I didn't buy that yesterday. It looked to me like they sleptwalked through that 4-0 loss to the Padres. And I'm sorry, maybe I'm looking at the game from a different lens from the press box than he is from the dugout. But it certainly didn't seem they were over-trying by any stretch of the imagination.
Football and baseball are different. We know that. But, for example, I've always used this example many times. The Seattle Seahawks ended up drafting Russell Wilson in the third round. Well, that meant he was on a third-round contract. So the Seahawks took advantage of having their starting quarterback on a third-round salary, and they built around it. Built up their secondary, signed a couple of free agents, won a Super Bowl. The Pirates have Paul Skeens at $740,000, the major league minimum. Are there any similarities about one team wanting to build around a star and another team not willing to build around a star?
It's a great analogy, and I mean, that's what you would think would happen. The Pirates would say, hey, our best player, our guy that really has a chance to lead us out of this wilderness that we've been in for 100 years, seemingly, is here, and we don't have to really pay him. So let's take that money that we normally would pay an ace pitcher, which would be about $30 or $35 million if he were a free agent, or $40 million, and let's take at least some of that money and get some other players to put around him and win now while we can take advantage of a potential 20-game winner making the minimum. But they don't seem to feel that way. They don't think that way. They just want to have the lowest payroll possible. And it's very, very frustrating to the fans. And, you know, and it's not the fans, Steve. I mean, you know,
fans are great.
Visiting teams come in, and I run into scouts from teams, and I do some national stuff too beyond Pittsburgh baseball now.
That's right.
So I talk to people from other teams. Just, you know, I'm not just always just locked in totally on talking to Pirate people.
Right.
And I talk to like general managers from other teams, and I mean, off the record, I mean, all the time I get, what in the hell are they doing in Pittsburgh? What are they doing? And I tell them, I just shrugged my shoulders and said, I can't figure it out either. And I mean, so this isn't just me, it just isn't you, it just isn't the fans. This is people inside the game asking these same questions that you are, and it's just baffling. It's baffling to everyone.
I think the Pirates fans are incredible because, they keep showing up, the TV ratings and so forth. I think they're incredible. They're aching for something, right? And as the customer, they deserve something, right? Not just show up and have a picture with the parrot and, hey, wasn't that a fun experience? I mean, come on. I mean, the Marquee can't say, hey, the Pirates are facing Manny Machado and the Padres today. It's like,
yeah, exactly. And I've noticed these ads have been popping up on their official website, like, and exactly what you allude to, like Jose Ramirez will be and the Guardians will be in town, like April 14th to the 6th or whatever the days were. Or Ellie De La Cruz and the Reds are coming to town May 14th.
Yeah.
Or, it's just like it's like it is. And again, I think the fans are realistic. They know that the Pirates aren't ever going to be in a position where they're going to have one of the top payrolls in baseball, and the fans don't expect that.
Right.
But goodness gracious, do they have to be in the bottom five every single year? And I just think the fans, they just, I mean, you look at what happened in 13, 14, and 15, and they didn't even win a division those years. They went into the wild card game each year. I mean, the place was packed on the weekends.
Right.
Even during weeknights, they'd have 25, 30,000 people.
Yep.
So people, when people say, Pittsburgh's not a baseball city, it is a baseball city.
Yes, it is.
But it also has smart fans that aren't going to go pay top dollar to watch garbage that's put on the field. And that's why they're not drawing this year. And, and I think the Pirates I think their ownership doesn't grasp that. I think they truly don't understand why they're not drawing more people.
Back to management by walking around, which is how I started out with all this.
Exactly.
O'Neal Cruz made the transition infield to outfield. How's it been?
It's getting better. It has not been smooth, but it is getting better. He's starting. I mean, as far as his routes to balls, they're getting better. He has those long legs and he can cover a lot of ground, and he is able to track down some balls that both center fielders wouldn't be able to track down. But the awareness of like what base to throw to, when to hit the cutoff man, when to try to throw somebody out on the bases is just really lacking right now. And in fairness, I mean, he has only been playing the position 3 months
right, exactly.
at the big league level.
Yeah.
But I think he's getting there. He really is. And, it seems like everything's starting to click. Like, he's really quit swinging at so many bad pitches. I mean, he still will occasionally, but in the past years, he's just swung at basically everything. It's like just throw the ball near him, swing at it. And he's really done a good job. He drew 4 walks the other day. The Padres clearly on Saturday in the game didn't want to do anything to do with him, knew he's the one guy who can do damage. And they pitched around him, and to his credit, he took his walks. He didn't try to force the issue, and that's something I don't think we would have seen from him even last season.
Right. Very quickly for you on a professional level, covering the Pirates, and it's not the easiest beat in America to cover, but you mentioned you've got a lot of other areas that you're covering right now. How refreshing is it for you to just not be in that of just the one-team mode?
It is. And I tell you what, Steve, I'm going to be totally 100% honest with you here. If I only wrote about the Pirates, I'm 61 years old, and I think I would be very close to hanging it up if I had to do that every day. So it does keep me refreshed. And I will say one thing about the Pirates. I like Derek Shelton, and I like Ben Cherington as people. They've always been good to me.
Yeah.
Their players are good people. They don't really have any really bad guys in their clubhouse. So that helps. Even when they're losing, at least you know that you're dealing with decent quality people.
Right.
But they just the same thing over and over and over again really, really wears you out. And it is nice to take a little respite and write about like a Nick Pavetta or somebody like that for Forbes.
Sometimes with the Buccos, you need more than an hour. Just in all honesty, John, you do fabulous work. I'm just glad that you're grinding away at it, and you got something else to at least talk about besides them, and appreciate it. And we will talk soon. And not only that, will we talk soon? I'm going to talk about other teams with you soon. How about that?
Okay, yeah, that's okay. Hey, whatever you want to do, I'm good with that.
You
know that,
John. You're the best. Thanks so much, my friend. Appreciate you.
You're welcome, Steve. Thanks for having me.
The outstanding John Perrotto joining us today on the show. This half hour brought to you by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com on News Radio 1070 WKO.
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're going to love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
Okay.
When car repairs get difficult.
Well, I just don't know.
Me neither.
We get good. Sunbury Motors. More than quality new and used cars, Sunbury Motors specializes in complicated auto repair diagnosis. They can handle intricate repairs and even complete auto body with service open Monday through Friday, 7 till 4. And Sunbury Motors has made simple repairs easy. Maintaining your vehicle is necessary. Finding the time to do it is difficult. Welcome to Sunbury Motors Quick Lane. Just walk in or call ahead. Relax in their remodeled waiting room with Wi-Fi, beverages, and snacks. While Sunbury Motors factory-trained techs take care of your oil change, tire alignments, brakes, and inspections. Quick Lane, 6:30 to 6, Monday through Friday, Saturday, 6:30 till 2. Sunbury Motors, Ford and Hyundai, North 4th Street, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. We take the out of auto repair.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855. Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Half hour brought to you by our great friends at Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, light, business, boat, motorcycle, RV. They even can answer some questions about Medicare. All right? People are looking for supplemental. And they're just great people, great pros. And customer service means everything to them at Purdy Insurance. Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. All right, couple of notes for you. A great article in the Athletic about why Dillon Gabriel was drafted ahead of Shedeur Sanders by Cleveland. And one thing they pointed out is and this is exactly what, now I've never seen Shedeur Sanders play in person, so I'm not going to pretend to go, oh yeah, Sanders did. But obviously Gabriel I have seen in person. And they describe Gabriel as essentially out there as a point guard at quarterback, which is exactly how Jack Ham and I described him in previewing the Big Ten championship game. But they say that in all the interviews, like, he crushed all the interviews because he's smart. And, he knows he knows better than anybody else out there that he's undersized. But they say in the interview process, he was phenomenal. And part of it is like little things, right? Here's one for you. Why? And I do, going into the Big Ten championship game, you read up more on guys and you get a feel for it, so I knew the answer to this. But why does Dillon Gabriel drive a minivan? Todd's scratching his head.
Drive his linemen around.
Yes. So he can drive his teammates around. Right? That's what a leader does. Okay? And they say that, in everything that he did, he put himself in a position where people appreciated the kind of guy he happens to be. And that's why he ended up getting picked where he did. Now, does that mean he's a better prospect than the Colorado quarterback? I mean, only time will tell about that. But they say that when it came to interviews, all right, that Shedeur Sanders was 180 of that. Right? And, he treated it like a recruiting process, and he said, you can't do that. You can't do that. And now, does that mean that Dillon Gabriel, who got drafted ahead of him, what did Gabriel get picked? 92nd, and Shedeur is 144. Now at this point, they have to just go out and show it. But the irony is they got picked by the same team. So that's why it was interesting it was brought up. Now let's get to the Michigan story. The Michigan story is interesting because you saw what they did with Moore, right? The head coach.
Picked their own dates again?
Yeah. They picked their own games to penalize him. They're going to suspend him for 2 games. And it's not the first 2 games of the season, which happen to be New Mexico and Oklahoma. And, of course, for Moore, that means something because he is a graduate of Oklahoma. Nope, it's going to be games 3 and 4. Central Michigan, ironic, and Nebraska.
I was going to say he has the chance to do the funniest thing ever, and that's to sneak in disguise onto the Central Michigan sidelines during that game.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, what the heck? I mean, so they picked their own games to suspend him. Well, okay. Really? So, Sharon Moore, and it's the 2 games are for alleged deleted texts dealing with the Connor Stallion situation, right? And they're going to suspend him because they're trying to get ahead of the NCAA here. Right. And it's going to be for Central Michigan and Nebraska games 3 and 4. Huh? What? Okay. Now, for Sharon Moore, I understand the Oklahoma game means something to him because he is an Oklahoma grad. I got that, as I pointed out earlier. Now, the suspension has not been confirmed by the university or the NCAA. But I would also like to point out that the Committee on Infractions meets June 6th and 7th. And guess what they're going to be looking at? The Connor Stallion situation. How about that?
For something that supposedly wasn't that big a deal. I get it's for the lying, but I think the reason they suspended him was they weren't going to, and they went to the infractions committee, and now, it didn't get the meeting canceled, so now they're suspending him. Hopefully that this is enough to keep them at bay.
They're trying to do something preemptively to see if they can keep the damage to a minimum.
Like, I know this isn't on the table, but in the 80s and 90s, this is kind of death penalty-esque, isn't it? This is the recruiting violations, a show cause for Jim Harbaugh, and now this?
I mean, when you start getting a laundry list, it does lead to show cause penalties. Because this is part of the laundry list.
I don't know. They just got Fordham basketball, who should be shaking in their shoes now because they're mad at Michigan.
Oh, I know. I mean, and remember, Fordham suspended Keith for 4 games because they were trying to get ahead of it. See, that's, I mean, in the Fordham case, they tried to do the same thing. But again, it's Fordham. It's not Michigan. And again, the old Jerry Tarkanian line just keeps rearing its head that the NCAA is so furious at Kentucky basketball. We're going to put Wichita State on probation. Okay. So I don't know what they're going to do, but the Committee on Infractions does meet June 6th and 7th. So there you go. President Trump moments ago announced that the 2027 NFL Draft will be in Washington. This is quite the time for D.C. because, number one, the Josh Harris has put together that deal where now they're going to level RFK Stadium and they're going to build a new dome stadium on that spot. And I believe Harris's group is paying, I think, $2.7 billion of their money for it, and then the city is paying $1.1 billion. You're like, oh, yeah. Well, a lot of that's for infrastructure. Well, it's not like just for the. It's not like the stadium. Harris and those guys are doing the stadium, but you have to have the egress, the ingress and the egress to make this work. Right? You need that. Plus, there's going to be supposedly housing around it and so forth. That part I don't know and not going to get into. I don't know what they're going to build around it, but they're going to build something around it. So now the draft, which drew 650,000 to Green Bay, a year ago drew 735,000 to Detroit, is going to go to Pittsburgh next year. And if I'm going to guess, I'm going to guess that Point State Park is going to be where they're going to do the draft. I'm going to guess, right?
Oh, I'm not sure if I saw an exact spot for it.
No, I haven't either. I'm saying I'm guessing that they're going to use Point State Park. I mean, Philadelphia, they use the Art Museum, right?
Yep.
Which was tremendous. And for Washington, guess where they're going to do it? They're going to do it on the National Mall. I guess they're going to use the Washington Monument as a backdrop for the NFL Draft. I'll tell you right now, they're going to sell a lot of tickets on the Metro. Getting people in and out.
It says Point State Park and around Acrisure Stadium.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And then it looks like for Washington in 2027, they're going to use the National Mall.
That will be neat.
Oh, no, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable how they've taken something that has zero action, none, zero, zip, zilch. The fastest anybody moves is when Roger Goodell walks out to the podium.
Or to go to the back after getting booed for 20 minutes straight.
We all have our routes. and they've taken just calling out names and they've turned it into this. Nobody can do this except the NFL. It's unbelievable. I mean, I've got to give them credit. I mean, the NFL Draft is unlike anybody else. The NFL is unlike anybody else. But they want to hold the thing on the National Mall. And this goes, a week, 10 days after the move to talk about bringing the Commanders back to D.C. The stadium plan still needs approval and would not be open until 2030. But now this draft has gone to Chicago, Philadelphia, Arlington, which everybody says was the worst, Nashville, which they said was awesome, Cleveland, Las Vegas, Kansas City, Detroit, Lambeau, Pittsburgh, Washington. They're just picking names. And they've turned it into, like the first 15 to 20 guys are there, come out, get a hug, the whole thing, everybody sees them. Everybody else is at home. And they still get 600,000 people to show up. How about that? It's unbelievable how popular these people are.
Remember, they used to put all 30 desks in one room.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Now they're going to use Point State Park one year, they're going to use the Washington Monument the next. Just to tell you, with the fourth pick. And look, Roger Goodell can be booed anywhere, so what the heck?
It's a good thing they're not trying to find a place where he'd be cheered to hold it.
I mean, at that point, Nico ought to be able to be available for the draft, and I'm sure he'd show up. Oh. Okay, Yanic Konan Neiderhauser, NBA G League Elite Draft. We have tried to, during the process of this, give everybody an idea of timelines on the process. Nothing has happened so far that has not surprised me. In fact, I've tried to outline to people as time has gone. One of the reasons I've tried to be specific about the timeline is that, remember, Penn State fans are not used to this. The last guy that went early into the draft, right, but just went to the draft and there was no process with him was Tony Carr. The last guy to go into the draft, do the process, and come back was Taylor Battle was the last one to do that, where he went in, evaluated, came back. We all know Tony Carr went in. Everybody knew the second Tony went in, we knew Tony was gone. Right? He'd hired an agent. He was finished. So we knew that. Seth Lundy still had a COVID year left, but we knew I knew right away when he declared he was gone. So this is where we are with Yanic. Yanic declares for the draft. Okay, that was step one. Worked out with Penn State, but then it came time to start doing pre-draft camps. He went down to Miami, did a pre-draft camp. Then there was one other pre-draft camp he went to. It may have been Orlando. I'm not sure. All right, and then it was the next date that was important was April 22nd. That was the last day to put your name into the transfer portal, which he did not. He did not put his name into the portal, so that ship has sailed. It's come and gone. The next step was finding out whether he'd be in the G League Elite Camp, which I mentioned to everybody ahead of time. That's May 9th to the 11th, or whether he'd be in the Combine Camp, which is 75 players. Not surprising to me, he got the G League Elite Camp, which means that starts on Friday. It consists of 44 players. There are 11 players on each team. They play each other in a couple of games over a couple of days, besides the workouts. And every once in a while, there's a couple of players out of that get advanced to the NBA Combine Camp. The NBA Combine runs the 11th through the 18th, right? There are 75 players in that. That's where the Cooper Flags of the world reside, okay, in that one there. And, again, there's 75 players in that. Remember, there are 59, not 60 because there's one, the Knicks defaulted on one. There are 59 draft picks this year. There's 75 players at the Combine. There are 44 more in the G League Elite Camp. Now, if you're wondering, money. The G League salary is $40,500. Okay? Just so you know. If you're a two-way player in the NBA, the salary is $576,000. The rookie minimum full-time is $1.1 million. So here's the next part. G League Elite Camp. Now, will he get moved up to the other camp to join the other 75 or not? Okay. Then after that, the next step will be working out individually, and the next big date is June 15th. Anytime between the end of the combine and June 15th, you can pull your name out of the draft. And if Yanic pulls his name out of the draft because he's not in the portal, he would return to Penn State. Okay? So that's how we've tried to keep everybody up to date on what it's been doing with him. Because, again, Penn State fans know some of this. I mean, because they follow sports, they love sports and so forth. But when you have a player in the process, you pay more attention to it. So because of that, I've tried to be more exact with people as to help them with the process that maybe, they may not have known before. How about that? So.
That was the first thing I looked up while you were talking was what's the G League salary?
Was I right? I said 40,000.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Because I was like, will it match the NIL?
No, it's not going to match the NIL. And again, if you're a two-way player, for example, at one point, Andrew Funk last year was on a two-way contract with the Bulls. Now, this year, Andrew played in the G League with Grand Rapids. Seth Lundy was on a two-way with Atlanta. When you're on a two-way contract, you're on the 17-man roster if you're on a two-way contract. So Bronny James, for example, is on a two-way contract. The salary's $587,000, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood for a two-way contract. If you were on a rookie contract, it's slightly higher than $1.1 million. But the G League, $40,500. Okay? So if you want to know about the numbers, those are the numbers. Yeah.
I wonder if at some point with NIL and stuff that will force the G League to kind of raise their salary if they would want some of these younger kids.
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends. Look, if you're a top flight player, or really good, you're a Derek Queen from Maryland, you're a one and done. He's in the combine, the NBA combine. If you're in that, you're not thinking about the G League. You're thinking about making the team and, what's my rookie contract going to be? Where am I going to be drafted? Queen, in all likelihood, is a top 20 pick, maybe even top 15. All right? We all know Cooper Flagg's one. I mean, so those guys are going into the NBA combine camp. They aren't thinking about the G League, and they're not thinking about two-way contracts. That's not their mindset. Walter Clayton is not going there thinking about the G League. I mean, in fact, Walter Clayton a year ago, went through the G League Elite Camp. Okay, so Walter Clayton did the G League Elite Camp last year and then went to Florida. Okay?
He's a guy I'm kind of interested to see where he goes.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, he's in it. Danny Wolf from Michigan's in it. Vlad Golden's in it. These are in the NBA combine, not the G League Elites. G League Elite has I went through the rosters. They're good. There's some really good players in there. But, then you look at the NBA combine and you're like going, okay, looks like an all-star team. But the whole point of this is, A, what do they think of you, and do they think enough of you where you're a top 35 pick? Top 35 to me is kind of like that line. If you're in the top 35, you got to go. You got to go. Okay? I mean, I realize that picks 31 through 35 are second round, but, geez, the first couple of picks of the second round are pretty important. Then after that, the way the slotting goes, the money starts to really fall off. If you're 36 and beyond, all right, and remember, there's already 75 in the combine. There are 44 more here in the G League Elite Camp. Well, just making the G League Elite Camp, you're going to get good evaluations. I like this. I like that. I like this. I like that. Okay, you got to tweak this. This has got to be a little bit better. Yeah, you got a little ways to go in this area. You know what I mean? You're going to get the good, solid, honest, professional evaluations because they're not trying to recruit you. That's why we're talking about Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel earlier. Shedeur evidently treated it like recruiting trips. Dillon Gabriel treated it like, hey, look, tell me what the deal is. Okay? So that's where he is. They will play. There's 2 days there. They're going to play 2 games. And there are going to be a couple of players from the draft-eligible group that are going to be invited to participate in the NBA Combine later. Okay? Based on their performance. And so we'll see if he gets that move or not. And then June 15th is the last day you can pull your name out of the draft. Okay? So that's the process. And somebody that we'll talk about process with is Nate Bauer. He's coming up next. Half hour brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.